You know, surviving dream killers is what we're talking about, and I'm right in the middle of Joseph's life, and it's sweet for me to inform you that while he was being thrown in the well, while he was being pulled out by the Israelites, while he was being broke down to be a slave and having to punch the clock again and making himself go and making them go and having the sweetest spirits, I have to tell you that his bow, in other words, that thing that he shoots arrows from, the Bible said it abode in strength. You can be strong in crisis. None of you can be the people of God without provoking envy. And the better you are, the more you will be hated. The more independent you are, the more you will be hated. The ripest fruit is most pecked by the birds, and the blossoms that have been longest on the tree are the most easily blown down by the wind. I don't want you to be afraid. You don't have anything to do with what man can say about you, but man hates you. Not God, not people. The flesh, men of flesh, the system, it does not like the will of God. It has strained at the will of God ever since time began, forced upon by the evil dominion of those that led heaven because they were forced out. If God honors you, man will dishonor you. If you're in the right place at the right time, God's honor on you will come from men who honor you. That will cause other flesh or men to dishonor you. So recollect, if you can wear the chains of iron for Christ's sake, you will wear the chains of God in heaven. And if you have rings of burning iron around your waist, you will have a brow that is brimmed with God's glory and gold in heaven. For blessed are you when men shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for Christ's name's sake, for persecuted they the prophets that were before you. Remember, the first archers, that category of troops, are the archers of envy. But a worse trial than this was to overtake him. You see, he got himself into a place to where temptation came. How did he get there? Well, he's a slave. But remember, in the house at home, he was a leader. In the house at home, he was trained to run other people who had slave mentality. He was a manager. I just spoke to a friend of mine who just fixed to start a job with an international company. I knew him when he was on the streets. I knew him when there were holes in his shoes. We helped to nurse him back. I owned a bank at the time, and I had a room in the bank for security to rest, and that's where I put him, was in that room, broken on a couch, just a place to wash off and a microwave to eat. And today, he called me at lunchtime, and he told me how he had been offered a job that was so unbelievable with an international company, and immediately out of my spirit came to tell him, you are worth it. You are worth 2 times or 3 times what those men have offered you. You are well worth it. You know why can I say that? Because I've watched him as men were jealous of him. I've watched him as temptation overtook him and he had to rebound. I've watched him as the slander came forth, and I've watched him every time come out as pure gold. But what happens is, any arena you go into, that honor coat of dignity, the one where God spoke an idea into your head, where God gave you glory, where God gave you a calling to do things for humanity and for Him, the dreams, the visions, bring you to a place every time where you are going to be chosen for honor. Joseph was chosen. He was chosen by one of the great princes of the house of Egypt. And he was chosen to run the man's household. From a slave, back into management. There he goes. Oh, I have one other thought about this man that called me. I remember the first job he went back on after coming to a place to where he could work again. And the man that took him on the job was cruel. he gave him shoes that were too big for him. And those shoes bore blisters on him. When I spoke to the man about it, the man was quite cocky and felt good about causing him to suffer. People want you to suffer. But remember, if you have the coat, they can drench it in blood, they can throw you in well, they cannot take away the honor and the coat that God put on you, because that idea is yours. You will survive the dream killers, the people that gave you shoes too big and caused your feet to be blistered and put you into situations. Now Joseph is there. So in the middle of that, he starts to make that house run like a top. Remember, his daddy was Jacob. Whoa, Jacob was a manager of managers. He was the greatest at what he had operating in his domain. And he began to put those things into principle. He began to do that. He had been taught to think for himself. He had been taught to seek God for dreams and vision. He got there. Why? Because he knew how to manage. And he knew how to survive dream killers. Now, I don't know how to express myself here so much. I wish somebody more qualified would speak to you and tell you the tale of his trial and his triumph. But when that master discovered his value, Joseph was made the bailiff of the household of the manager, and the wanton mistress of the house, the wife, fixed her adulterous love on him. And he began continually to be in her presence, perpetually, day by day. He's a slave. He gets no time off. He can't go away. He can't go somewhere and decompress. He can't go be among friends. He's a slave day and day and day. So as this thing came toward him of temptation, and the arrows were shot deep, how she did it, I don't want to go into that, because you just can imagine. Constantly, he refused. He was still enduring a martyrdom in the slow fire of her enticements. Yes, it's different than the well. It's different from the breakdown to becoming a slave. It's different from not having an outward coat, only having to possess his inward coat of honor. But that inward coat of honor was still there when the master of the house put on the coat of honor for the house and said to all the other people, this is his dress, and by his dress it shows you that he is over all of this household. But inside he had another coat. Now this coat that he had on the outside, if he had it stripped from him, he's no longer the master of the house. But on this one eventful day, she grabbed him by that coat, that outward coat, and she sought to compel him to crime, because it would have been a crime for him to do that. But he, like a true hero, said to her, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? His inner coat, the coat that God had put on him, was beyond anything man could give. I know exactly where he was standing. I have had to say, how can I do this and sin against God? So like a wise warrior, he knew that in such a case, fleeing was the better part of valor. And he heard a voice in his head, fly, Joseph, fly. There remains a way of victory, and it's not here. There's no way of victory in this. But if you'll flee, there's another way. God will make a way where there is no way. God will make a way to get you to the destiny that he has to. But if he has to change what men are laying out for you to bring you to that place, you must go on and survive the dream killer. That woman was a dream killer. It may be the temptation for a better job, maybe a temptation for a bigger home, it may be the temptation for this or that or the other, but somewhere you need to hear in your head when it's time to fly. And don't stay in the midst of it where the fiery darts can catch you. Grab your shield of faith, quench the darts, and go on. So here he goes, one more time, fleeing, leaving that outer garment, that garment of honor, that one that showed him that he was, oh, look at you with your coat of many colors. Now it's, oh, look at you with your stained garments of slavehood. Oh, now look at you with your garment of managership. You're the bailiff of the house. Oh, now look at him once again. Only slave clothes, but he's free. I just want to say that to you today. Your idea is worth all the glory in God. your vision, your sign, your wonder, your dreams. God supporting you in the middle of the night. Many nights I go to sleep and I say, like I did in extreme cases of struggle, Lord, give me a dream tonight. Take me away. Let me in my dreams fly upon the wings of worship. Feed my spirit till I want no more. Let me arise to fight what I have to fight tomorrow by having been in your presence all night. And you know God's good. He takes care of you. I lived many years on 4 hours of sleep. I don't no longer do that. I did that because I was walking out the victory. Go ahead and walk it out. Go ahead. Leave the garment, the outer garment if you must, and always remember, hear the words. Fly, fly, Joseph, fly. Time to go. Now remember, you got to see that there's no other way out. But sometimes there remains no way of victory but flight. God bless you. Live to fight another day. I bless you with all my heart. You will find your identity. God bless you.